Conclusions about Lynch?
Like, fuck yeah, dude.
I think we could all agree that Inland Empire is number 7.
Yeah, probably down at the
The
bottom.
bottom of the list, I think.
If Dune and Elephant Man were on this list, they would be above it.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump and say Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me at 6.
I would agree with that,
With
yes.
that too.
Uh,
I said Blue Velvet next. At 5.
really, this is where we get into some friction area because I quite like Eraserhead. Or I quite like Blue Velvet, I mean.
You're putting Blue Velvet? Wait. Nick, let me guess. You're going to put Mulholland Drive number 5.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
If this was my list now, starting from the top, I think I would go Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, Wild at Heart, Mulholland Drive, Twin Peaks, then Inland Empire. This would be my list.
Nick's
right
list.
now. This is mine right now.
Screen grab it, viewers, Malaysian viewers. This is Nick Dillon's tier list of Lynch's films.
This is how I see it, at least.
Is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Mine goes Mulholland Drive number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1.
But it's a very close to Eraserhead. Catch Me on the Day. Honestly, interchangeable.
Yeah.
Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive. You know, for the sake of this podcast and the consistency, we'll put Eraserhead number 1. Right?
100, definitely, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the fuck up. My turn. My list. Right now. After Mulholland Drive, it's Wild at Heart.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Then it's Lost Highway, and then Blue Velvet, and then it's Dune and Elephant Man. Then it's Twin Peaks 10 and Empire. This shit one there. This is the Dante the Paganon David Lynch tier list right here.
I think the only thing I would switch, I would put Wild at Heart second. I think that would be mine.
Interesting.
Maybe this.
I like the first one better.
Maybe this.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
I think I like Mulholland Drive more than Blue Velvet.
Really?
Oh, but you know what? The more I think about Blue Velvet, the more I like it. The more I think about Mulholland Drive, the more I don't want to watch it again.
Exactly. Wait another 2-3 months. Lost Highway is going to be at the top of the list.
That's crazy to me, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, Mulholland Drive, like, because I remember last podcast, I was going to say some more shit about Mulholland Drive that I didn't get to say when we reviewed Mulholland Drive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there's something about Mulholland Drive that just, like, for me, it captures how a dream actually is so perfectly that it's insane. Like, I've never seen dreams depicted so accurately.
Yeah.
For me, because my dreams are exactly like that, you know?
I think Eraserhead does a better job at that.
No, because Eraserhead's too consistent. It's not as jumpy, you know?
Oh, really? That's interesting. My dreams tend to be at least...
Yours are more linear like that?
Not necessarily linear, but... yeah.
For me, a lot of my dreams, like, a thing that happens a lot in my dreams is, like, I'll have, let's say, example, Nick will be in my dream.
Mm-hmm.
But he won't look like Nick at all. But in my dream, that's still Nick Gillum.
Yeah, like you know it is.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is. In the dream. But actually, he'll look like you or something, you know?
Yeah.
Camera's fucking stupid.
That actually happens to me a lot in my dreams as well, where a person will be themselves, but their bodies will be different people, but they'll always be the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a dream and like my brother's in the dream, but my brother will take on the form of like a bunch of my friends. Yeah. But I know it's always him.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, Mulholland Drive captures that with the identity crisis that they have and the name switches, you know?
Yeah. Even the, like almost every character reappears twice.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I'm like Lee's followed me on Instagram for a while. Nick, you haven't known me for that long, but like dreams are like, I tried to retell one of my dreams on my Instagram. It was fucking long, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it plays out like Mulholland Drive does in the first 2/3 of that movie, you know, a lot, very similar. So for me, Mulholland Drive really like it got me. It's like that was that I was meant to watch Mulholland Drive, you know.
Yeah,
And
I think if we had Kyle here as well,
Kyle
this might be our averaged out list.
Yeah,
something around
Kyle,
that. Yeah,
Kyle, I need you as my reinforcements, my guy. But like also like Mulholland, I don't want to go too long about Mulholland Drive because there's like 6 other movies we have to talk about a bit. But like my last notes about Mulholland Drive could be like, when you go through such an emotional experience like that, it shows up in your dreams very blatantly, you know?
Right.
Especially the image of the person or the ethos of that person.
Yeah.
Even if they don't look like them, even if it's Nick, but he has the body of Lee, but it's still Nick. It happens so much in dreams. And the thing is, Mulholland Drive is the only piece of media, painting, drawing, movie I've ever seen that gets it so accurately for me and my experience with my dreams, you know? So that's why for me it's a crazy movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wonder what the Letterboxd average ranking is.
Mulholland Drive is definitely going to be number 1.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Mulholland Drive it's much more critically acclaimed than
Yeah, Eraserhead only has a 3.9. I'm too lazy to check all of them.
Yeah, when Eraserhead and Inland Empire are almost the same, like by fractions, they're almost the same review. I don't know how much you can take these reviews anymore. I'm starting to lose faith in Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, 3.7 and 3.9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check Mulholland Drive. I'm just curious to see what the rating is for this movie.
4.2 is my guess. Oh shit.
Ooh, on point. Because Mulholland Drive, there was the way I discovered it was there was a ranking by BBC. They took 144 film critics and they ranked on average the best films of the 21st century, and Mulholland Drive number 1.
Oh yes, I have. Before I even knew who Lynch was, I knew that Mulholland Drive was renowned as being one of the best American movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Debatably.
You know, but Spirited Away was number 4, and that's like my favorite movie ever, you know?
Spirited Away does fucking rule.
Spirited Away fucking rocks.
It's interesting here, though, when we did Herzogly, that our rankings for, I think we did 5 on Herzog, were pretty well identical the way we ranked them. But here we have such a dispute.
It's true.
I think this could be more...
This is the end of the Monolith Film Podcast, bro.
No, maybe Lynch is more, I don't know, not provocative, but... I don't know.
Interpretive?
He's tapping into different parts of how we view these kind of works. You know, we're each taking things out, and maybe this kind of dream, I don't know, the way he kind of makes his movies in this, what would you call it, like magic realism. It taps in differently with the different viewers. So like you like Mulholland Drive and I don't kind of thing, whereas with Herzog, we both like Gary, the Wrath of God. And then after that, it would be Strojek or something. Like we have those ranked more as good films. And these are more like our interpretations of them more. There's less interpreting in the Herzog.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Blue Velvet and Lost Highway would probably be tied for me if I could.
Yeah.
So this could go either way for me.
Mm-hmm. And like I would tie Lost Highway and Wild at Heart, I think.
You fucking
for second.
Movie, huh?
What's that?
You fucking love that movie, eh?
Lost Highway, I think is good. But the thing here with, now that we did Inland Empire, it kind of ruins my other idea where the Lynch movies come in pairs. Because this doesn't fit in the box of the pair system. This is more like a mixtape of...
Well, maybe we gotta watch the Straight Story.
Yeah, I think that just ruins everything then.
Well, what pairs were you thinking of?
I was thinking more like Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive kind of fit together.
Yeah.
And then like maybe Twin Peaks and
Blue Velvet.
Yeah, I guess Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks kind of go to, but even Wild at Heart and Twin Peaks, I find, kind of go together a bit in like the kind of kitschiness, like, you know,
Yes.
someone like John Waters or something. He would go
Yes.
into the low grade kind of stuff, and you have these big fat women or something sitting down smoking.
I think the pair for Inland Empire would be Eraserhead.
Oh, you find?
Well,
I guess, yeah. You know, I can see that.
It's like they're both complete opposites of the spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're so opposite that their oppositeness is what makes them connected.
Yeah, I can see that too, because they're both Lynch at his most Lynch, but just opposite Lynches.
And one's at the start of his career, one's at the end of his career.
Yeah.
One's arguably his best movie, one's arguably his worst movie.
Yeah.
Not arguably.
And not arguably. And both of them are written, directed, produced, and edited and sound designed by Lynch himself.
Good point. True. Very good point.
I think that is the pair.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think Wild at Heart would be the standout, because if you guys recall, when we did Twin Peaks Firewalk with me, my main complaint was that it just felt like Blue Velvet, but done in the universe of a TV show.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I don't like Blue Velvet that much, because I don't like that fucking suburban, Laz. Well, you don't know Laz, Nick, but Lee knows Laz, and Laz is a super suburb kind of gummo kid, And Blue Velvet's all about that like white picket fence, kind of like suburb life shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm from the ghetto.
Well, now that we have these all ranked out, do you guys want to kind of go through some Lynch?
Whoa. Before you do that, though, you got to fix it a little bit there.
Let's get the proper averages up here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Do you guys want to try and go through some recurring motifs or something, or things that we see throughout his works, tying pieces between his works?
Yeah. So this is our ranking. This here is chronological.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening and not watching, our averaged out ranking would be something along the lines of Eraserhead number 1. Wild at Heart and Mulholland Drive end up being averaged to about a tie for second.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Velvet, Lost Highway also averaged out to around a tie.
Yeah.
And then Twin Peaks and Inland Empire ringing out the bottom.
Yeah. Twin Peaks is better than Inland Empire, at least, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, for sure, yes.
Yeah.
Inland Empire is a definitive worst Lynch movie ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Twin Peaks, I find it comes with the baggage of the series, though. Like, that's another hard movie to kind of get it or to understand without the
series. The series comes with the baggage of this movie, because the series is actually amazing.
Like, you need some kind of prior knowledge or some kind of world knowledge, like the world of the Twin Peaks, to understand the movie or to appreciate it wholly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we are ranking the movie Firewalk with Me only as a standalone.
Yeah.
If Twin Peaks the show was on this list, it would be number 1 for me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, maybe second behind Mulholland Drive or Eraserhead, but Twin Peaks for me is his Dark Tower series, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, what have we learned about Lynch? I found it interesting. Remember when we did our recap on Herzog, watching Fitzcarraldo kind of gave me a revelation and a deeper appreciation for Herzog's catalog as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Inland Empire did the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Where watching it made me think, fuck, is Lynch just a fucking dummy? Was I wrong? Like, are the other movies just good by accident?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't actually think so.
Mm-hmm.
But that thought did cross my mind. I think, and the thing about Lynch's movies is that I kind of learned everything I needed to learn about Lynch watching Eraserhead.
Yeah.
And then every other movie I watched after that just kind of further confirmed those beliefs about Lynch and his filmography.
Mm-hmm.
I never really learned anything new. I just kind of understood deeper
how he makes his movies.
Right.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So one of the biggest motifs I find with Lynch's work, not including Twin Peaks as much, is that a lot of it is about his own personal experiences in a very abstract way.
Yes.
Like Eraserhead You know, like we mentioned before, that famous quote where he's in the interview and the guy's like, "Can you elaborate on why you think Eraserhead is your most spiritual movie?" And he says no.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like we said when we talked about Eraserhead, is that if you study his life at that point in time when you're in Eraserhead, it's very clear what it's about.
Right.
It's very clear, you know?
Yeah, it's about fucking becoming a father in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia. You know what's funny is I was actually gonna get like a white wig.
Nice.
And like a tie.
Full cosplay.
I was gonna full cosplay it, but the party shop was closed. Anyways, and you get that recurring a lot in his movies, especially like Mulholland Drive. You know, that one. It's very clearly because you could watch an interview with him and Naomi Watts, where literally Naomi Watts' character in Mulholland Drive is how Naomi Watts' auditions went with David Lynch, and he said, "This is the girl," you know. And you could see it in the movie that you could tell that even if you don't know those clues, you could tell in Mulholland Drive when there's the director talking at the coffee table, you could tell that that's David Lynch talking about some shit that happened to him in the fucking Hollywood boardroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Same with Inland Empire, maybe not so much, but like you get a lot of his own personal experiences in movies. You know?
Oh, for sure. I kind of felt that too. Nothing I could really grasp onto because Inland Empire is ungraspable. But you know,
and also Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me, you know, he plays the commissioner, the FBI commissioner, and he's like, "I'm in Philadelphia," you know. That's because he used to live in Philadelphia. You know?
But Blue Velvet as well. Again, we keep joking about Philadelphia, but Blue Velvet is very much about his experience with the harsh reality of the flip side of the American dream.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and another thing that I noticed in David Lynch's movies, that the way he makes films, usually, you know, if you have a prick like me and Nick, probably you now too, Lee, watching like artsy movies, you're analyzing the cameras, you're analyzing the way the shots are done, the transitions, you're like the medium is the message kind of in a way sometimes, you know.
Did you just come up with that?
No, yeah, bro. Like, on top of my head, you know. but in Lynch, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
because then you're over analyzing it. Lynch, you got to look at the big picture of the movie and stand back and look at it macroly. Then you'll notice the symbols, because he uses symbolism, like literal symbols.
Yeah, like iconography almost.
Iconography, like literal objects in his movies that mean something. And the thing is, when you look at other movies and you analyze them in that way, it sounds like you're reaching. But with David Lynch, if you sound like you're reaching, you know you're on the right track, because it's literally what he meant. You know? Yeah. So that's what I noticed in his movies.
Well, now that I think about it more, I agree with you completely that Eraserhead and Inland Empire would be the two that kind of pair together, because I was trying to think of recurring motifs for him in aesthetics, and we kind of get that kitschy kind of Americana feel a lot of the time, and he's always using these kind of lower grade cinema cameras you were kind of talking about in other episodes. Lee's got these kind of soap opera feeling cameras, and in all the movies from Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, Lost Highway, and Mulholland Drive, they all have, well, maybe not so much Mulholland Drive, but the first four at least have these great camera movements, long crane shots and huge crane ups, and really intricate camera movements that move between images in the same shot. And Eraserhead and Inland Empire, we get these static kind of
student film vibes.
Yeah.
Literally, Eraserhead was a student film, you know?
Yeah, pretty well.
Yeah.
Just for me, kind of little, not really story things that come back, but just kind of things that you can look at and go, oh, okay, I saw that before in another movie. We always get kind of the musical number in many of these movies. Always the kind of song and dance, and there's always a magic element to it. Like we have the fairy godmother in Wild at Heart or something, or the characters changing forms, and we get the actors playing multiple characters. We see that a lot. We also see driving, a lot of driving stuff.
It very he, in a weird way, I find David Lynch is very much a beat artist,
Mm.
like part of the Beat Generation,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
critiquing that whole side of Americana and the car, the freedom, the open road. All these very Beat Generation motifs are in his movies,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. He actually reminds me of William S. Burroughs, stuff like Naked Lunch.
Yeah.
It's from that generation, but just very surreal,
Mm-hmm.
but still somehow connected to those motifs.
Yeah. Like the thing is with Lynch, his movies are very like you said, Americana. They're very American movies.
Mhm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, what stops him from being like one of the, I mean, he is one of the greats of filmmaking, in my opinion. But what stops him from me achieving a universal kind of like love is the fact that if you're not American or you're not from the West or side of the world, like we're
Right.
like us,
Mm-hmm.
you're not. These aren't relatable things for you. You know,
Mhm.
like the whole driving thing, driving on the highway and shit, dark at night. It's relatable, you know, to me a bit. You know.
Yeah.
Hollywood and all this stuff for people in California is probably relatable, you know, that I live in LA, kind of crazy shit happens here, you know?
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about Lynch is that I love the way he uses his magic systems in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
Very soft magic systems, but very mysterious, very supernatural, and very, very attuned with that Americana, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the things I noticed mostly that were recurring in almost every single one, obvious themes of duality in all of them.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I feel like it's an expectation versus a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Eraserhead, it's the expectation of what it would be like to be a father versus Lynch's own experience being a father.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
His kids must be watching that movie. Is that what he really thought of me?
Blue Velvet is the expectation of the American dream or the suburbs versus the reality
Mm-hmm.
that Lynch experienced in Philadelphia. Wild at Heart struck me as the expectation of romance versus the reality of the world constantly being against romance.
Mm-hmm.
Twin Peaks is just Blue Velvet again, but I don't know.
Adding, just Blue Velvet again, but adding context to Twin.
Right. Lost Highway, you lose me a little on this one. I'm not sure how that would.
I feel like Lost Highway kind of fits outside of that a bit.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it kind of a fun movie to watch. It's more of like an actual kind of like intense mystery movie, you know?
Because then Mulholland Drive is the expectation of working in Hollywood versus its reality.
Mm-hmm.
Inland Empire is the same theme, the expectation of working in Hollywood versus reality, just done poorly.
Yeah. Well, Lost Highway could be the expectation of romance and kind of marriage, how they kind of fall out of love, and he
True, yeah.
reminisces about a past stud.
Oh, that's actually a good, yeah.
Well,
Lynch has been divorced a few times. That makes sense.
I find all these movies are kind of doomed romances too.
Yes. Yeah.
You got
that is very recurring.
Yeah, Eraserhead with the kid that nobody wants and the wife keeps running away, and Blue Velvet, he's got this love triangle that one side is the girl next door and one is this kind of beaten woman, and then Wild at Heart, you were saying the world's against you, and Twin Peaks is the dad wants to bang the daughter, and it just goes on.
I will say, Wild at Heart, Laura Dern's performance pretty good.
Yeah.
I love Nicolas Cage's performance.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it's probably his best performance.
Nick Cage in that movie is insane. I love it.
Yeah. And I love Willem Dafoe. Bobby
Yes.
Peru.
The fucking teeth.
Yeah, I like his gums the best, I think.
That's a great performance.
One thing we kind of missed is that Herzog and Nick Cage had a working together.
Ooh.
I think Bad Lieutenant. We might have to go to something around there.
We might just have to do a fucking Nick Cage retrospective.
I think we might have to. I watched Face Off the other day and it rocked.
It's true. We have to do Mandy eventually.
Yeah.
Yes, we actually really should.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is it's Herzog joining in on the Cronenberg Lynch universe over here that we got going on.
Oh yeah.
Is it the Sutherlands that tie every movie together, Nick?
That's true. Yeah.
Sutherland.
Another thing, Dante, you were talking about with Mulholland Drive, and I mentioned Eraserhead in that respect as well, is the whole dream logic of his movies.
Yeah.
that's a recurring theme as well.
That's the soft surrealism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was reading up on some of Lynch's other artwork apart from film, like his paintings and his poetry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't get into his music much, but a few things from his paintings and poetry that struck me as relevant to his film as well is he has this one piece of art where he cuts a fish up and then he tries to reassemble it.
Okay.
And he says like 3 parts of a dead fish will never make a live fish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the idea that when, like in his movies, you can't dissect them. You cannot dissect a Lynch movie. You like Dante was saying before, you have to view it as a whole.
Yeah.
You take the whole thing in. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one was he did this thing where he lined up a bunch of flies and then he named them.
Okay.
And then he wrote, although they are the same, change comes from the name.
What are you going to apparently or something?
And apparently he has like this whole recurring theme in his paintings and in his art about language and about how when you name things, they change.
Yeah, of course.
And how he doesn't like, he uses words in a specific way in his art, in his painting. And he doesn't like, that's why he never explains his movies, right? Because once you explain the movie, no one will ever watch it the same way again. They'll always watch it that way.
Yeah. Like one thing, when you're making art, let's say for example, it's like authorial intent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus the interpretation of the viewer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Like when I make it, like for me, the best artist, you're like a great artist is one that is able to make artwork that controls the viewer's interpretation.
I 100% agree.
So that the viewer's interpretation is the same as the author's intent. Because the author, if they're good at it and they know how to read their own painting and they know what the decisions in their painting means to a viewer, they can control how the viewer is going to see it just through what they put in the painting, you know? So I feel like a lot of times when you're making like when you're critiquing artwork at school, like at Vanny, how we would do it is that the student would tell everyone the meaning and then we critique it. But at Concordia, people critique it first and they try to interpret beforehand, you know? And then the artist can say what they want to say about their own shit. And the thing is, what's important about that is that if Lynch told us what the movie was about, and he was off a bit, we could find reasons that contradict it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say he's wrong. Let's say he says, you know, we said that Eraserhead's about him and his kid when he was making the movie at that time, right? But what if he says that it's about something completely different, you know? We would be like, then your authorial intent is in question, you know? It's kind of wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, how we view it defines it, you know? In a way, you know? It's a whole other debate. But the thing is, what's smart about Lynch avoiding the question all the time is that he allows that interplay.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't allow the viewers to say, oh, this movie sucks because it doesn't follow how he intended it to be, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Be open about it.
It's interesting you bring that up because that's also how I've defined good art. Mm-hmm. Objectively speaking, that's how I like to, like that's kind of my objective definition of what makes art good is whether or not the artist's intent was achieved in a way.
For me, it's about what makes it a good piece of art. Because a good piece of art can still be good even if the author didn't intend it how I see it, you know?
Yes, yeah. Subjectively.
Subjectively.
So yeah, subjectively, my definition, the definition I've used for good art in a subjective light usually is whether or not that piece of art makes me want to create my own piece of art.
Sure. Yeah.
And David Lynch does do that. When I watch his movies, I want to make a movie.
Yeah.
Very much so.
For sure.
So it's undeniable that he's a good artist, I think.
Yeah, it's undeniable. Yeah, for sure.
But I think, like you said, people try too hard in the wrong ways to understand what's going on.
Yeah. It's like what we said with Mulholland, or like what you said with Mulholland Drive, where we're talking about the theater scene and there's like the theater conductor. And he's like, this is an illusion. You are in a dream. And you just said, like, I think David Lynch is just sick of fucking people not getting his movies. He has to tell you in the movie. Or like when the what's his name, Justin Theroux he's at the board office. He's like, what am I dreaming?
Yeah.
Like, come on. You know?
I mean, I think that's a good tie on Lynch then.